Okay, we are live. All right. Okay, so Kamani, you are first, and you are the only candidate that has signed up for president. So your question, the first question is, the president is the public face and speaks for the Graduate Student Society. Can you share your vision for the Graduate Student Society if you were to be elected? Your 1 minute starts right now. Oh. You are first, and you are the only candidate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Benny.
You can start now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Benny, and thank you for organizing this event. And I think you asked a very, very, very important question about the representation of the more than 10,000 graduate students that come our way. I believe I've been here for the last almost 3 years now, since 2017, and in different capacities. So while I understand that is the responsibility of the president to be the spokesperson of the society, I have a vision that we established and that we are going to continue doing. We have a vision of trying to make sure that all our students, all their voices are listened to by the key people who need to listen to them and act upon them. Over the last 1 year, we have had a lot of opportunities to engage with the university, with everybody who is concerned with making sure that students' issues are given an opportunity. For example, we are very keen on talking about affordability, and many things have come on the way. Like, we have had money being put into the pockets of students. We have had opportunities where now the scholarships, grants, awards are coming the way of the students. And these are the visions that we have for the student going forward.
You're at 30 seconds. Just wrap up if you want to say anything else. Good to go?
Yeah, good to go. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Your next question, let me just reset the timer here. Your next question is, what specific ideas are you looking to develop at the Graduate Student Society? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you so much, Benny. That's very important. One, we have identified so many gaps that are within the system. One of them is about the issue of equity, inclusion, and diversity. We have had a lot of opportunities to have this discussion going forward. But again, there is too much that needs to be done, and this one can only be done with a joint effort of both the student bodies and other stakeholders on campus. So this is our front that we are going to be fronting forward and making sure that we do not only have statements of equity, inclusion, and diversity, but actually we have actions. And when we talk about actions, we want to see issues about racism, discrimination, all of them being attacked and being dismantled from a GSS point of it. And I'm very, very sure with our given opportunity, we are going to make sure that everybody, all of us, have got the opportunity to be listened to in an equitable manner, in an inclusive manner, and of course, embracing our diversity that we do bring on board. On the same point, we also, the vision of trying to make student lives experiences quite enjoyable at campus. I am a very strong believer that, no student should struggle, no graduate student should struggle while they are studying here. No, not when they have a representative, when they have a body that represents them. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Go to every office, go to every person who can make change. And that's what we're going to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, your time is up. On to the next question. I'm just resetting the timer. So the president is involved in every aspect of the Graduate Student Society. It is perhaps the most demanding position. As a student yourself, how will you manage your studies and the position? You have 1 minute starting now. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
1 sec, I'll just restart it. Sorry, I don't know why you were muted. Okay, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you so much, Benny, again. And as you stated clearly there that I understand very well. Before becoming the president of the GSS, I am a student first, and therefore I must understand the responsibilities that I have as a student, because as I try to improve other students' lives, academically, generally, and all that, I also need to make sure that at least I'm able to push forward. Otherwise, it will be a waste of time for all of us that are involved in this situation. And as I stated initially, it's I joined GSS in 2017, as a committee member, and then as the FEO, and now as the president. And I have been able to gradually move from, being, a PhD student, and now I'm a PhD candidate, meaning I have got one more step to go to becoming what it is that I came here for, become a professor, become a doctor for that case. So I have seen, a very good life kind of a balance with me. And again, and I would say, I think I have a very strong support, not only from my supervisors, but I think also for the students. So about balancing, I think this is a well sorted out issue, and I am very comfortable and very confident that I'll finish my my program in good time.
Time is up. Okay, thank you. You have one last question. You can stay unmuted. Your last question is, as you are the only candidate this year running for president, how will your platform stand out to represent graduate students? You have one, sorry?
I didn't get the question, please.
Okay, can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay. As you are the only candidate this year running for president, how will your platform stand out to represent graduate students? You have 1 minute started now.
Again, thank you so much, Benny. I think this kind of history repeating itself. Last year, I also went unopposed, and I think that and still students came forward and voted for me because they believed and they trusted that I shall do a good job. And that's exactly what we've done for the last 1 year. I have been leading a team of very ambitious vice presidents and a very, very supportive staff, at the GSS. So as the president, going for the seat unopposed does not give me the platform of not doing anything. No, I understand. I clearly understand what it calls to be the president of the GSS. And the reason as to why I also give myself again another chance to run is because I understand the investment that we've made for the GSS. And there are so many projects that we did start, and I would wish to see them come to fulfillment. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I have a very strong vision for GSS, Team GSS, and I hope that the team that will come alongside with me will be able to support that vision and will move forward and benefit our constituencies. For me, it is always Team GSS, nothing more. And I'll be so happy to lead the GSS team.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Kamani. Yeah, your time is up. You've done all the questions. Ben, do you want to check if there's any questions coming in for Kamani right now?
None at the moment, thank you. So if some come in later, we can ask them maybe during the other portions of the debate once we've spoken to the other candidates.
Awesome. I guess we can move on to the next executive role, which is going to be the Vice President of External Relations. So that is Remzi, Ashni, and Ritwik. You guys can turn on your cameras and yeah, just let me know when you are ready. Remzi will be answering the first question, and then, yeah, sorry. And then Ashni will be answering the first question after Remzi, and then Ritwik will be answering the first question after Ashni. Remzi, just let me know, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. I also think at the 30-second mark as well, I'll be holding this up too. Let me just get the timer ready here. Can you hear me good? I'll just unmute you quickly. Awesome. Okay, Ramsey, your first question is, the Vice President of External Relations represents the interests of graduate students before external organizations. Which organizations should the Graduate Student Society reach out to and why? You have 1 minute starting now.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. As I've stated on my profile, I think it's time to think big. Think big and respectfully, transparently, but firmly advocate for the recognition of all levels of government of the benefits of society of graduate education. I will lobby all levels of government to increase the amount of money in graduate student pockets so we can focus on the important things, especially in the important things in these times of need. That is, attending to our research, which is invaluable to society and provides the federal government of Canada with billions of dollars each year. And so we can focus on being with our loved ones, especially in these times of need. I think it's particularly special and paramount that the graduate students build societies, build alliances, right? This year, it was a great achievement that we went to Lobby Week in hand with the AMS. We need to reach out to our MLAs in Congress, in Parliament, and in the local governors to bring the actual concerns of graduate students. I invite you all to look at my platform to build a more inclusive, better university that overall puts more money into graduate student pockets. If I have time, I will add that it's really important to also foster a relationship with communities inside Vancouver and with nonprofit organizations like Color of Trails, like QBTA, and other that advocate for BIPOC rights and for overall better housing and other opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramsey. Next up is Ashni answering the first question, and I will repeat it one more time. I will just unmute you. All right, you're unmuted, great. The question is, the Vice President of External Relations represents the interests of graduate students before external organizations. Which organizations should the Graduate Student Society reach out to and why? You have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. The first thing I would like to acknowledge is that I will support the graduate student body by being their advocate. And by advocate, I am an ally of the LGBTQIA 2S plus folks, and as well as the BIPOC community, as well as differently abled bodies. So on behalf of the needs, the desires, and the concerns, rather than pushing an agenda that doesn't consult them, I would like to consult with all graduate students. And I'm committed to fostering an environment based on reciprocity and engagement, which will benefit largely the academic experience of all graduate students. So I think that we need to work collaboratively and in order to foster and create changes that will benefit us all. So a few of the organizations I would like to work with, apart from lobbying to municipal, provincial, and federal government, include the Canadian Alliance of Students Associations. With this association, I would like to work on, for instance, affordability for Indigenous students. I would also like to work with the Get Out the Vote campaign to encourage students to vote in the federal election. I would also like to work with Students for Consent Culture and partner with the Alliance of BC Students, as that's part of my platform to work on advocating for the sexual violence response and prevention policy. And of course, I would like to continue our efforts with the AMS. And in order to work on climate change, I would like to partner with the BC Indigenous Clean Energy Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashni. I'm just going to unmute you. Awesome. I will repeat the question again. The Vice President of External Relations represents the interests of graduate students before external organizations. Which organizations should the Graduate Student Society reach out to and why? You have 1 minute starting now.
Thanks, Penny. Leadership is as much about forging new pathways for growth and development as it is about cementing the footholds that connect to past successes. One of the key reasons why I chose to run for this post is because I'm directly affected by the fantastic lobbying efforts already done by past and existing GSS executives, especially outgoing VP ex Alireza, and other student advocacy organizations like Canada Alliance of Student Associations and Alliance of BC Students, that resulted in not only $26 million investment in SHRC postdoc, but also increased minimum doctoral funding at UBC to $22,000. So I would like to continue working with them along these lines to ensure that we have a pragmatic funding opportunities discovered for the coming year. I would also like to continue working with AMS because AMS is doing some good work, especially their work with Utile. I don't know how, I'm guessing I'm pronouncing it properly, Utile, UTILE, who's doing good work in terms of finding new housing and affordable housing opportunities. And along with them, I would like to follow Alireza, our outgoing VPX, who talked about lobbying federally using UCRU. So I would like to learn a bit more about them and probably use them, since we would need a good partner to lobby for the students at the federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our second question now. First one up is Ashni. I'm just going to ask you to mute you. Awesome. The second question is, graduate students have a diverse set of concerns, whether it is tuition increases, transport, housing, among many others. What will be your main focus as Vice President of External Relations? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you very much. So as I've put forward in my platform, there's a few key areas that really are important to me. So these aspects are affordability for international and domestic students, as well as mental health and well-being of students, and then the sexual violence response and prevention policy. I do believe that we need to promote ongoing funding and as well as increase the level of consent education that not only the members of the university receive, but also the students here. And then lastly, I do believe that it's very important for us to work on inclusion and diversity, because although we do have equity and diversity initiatives here and the Equity Office, we're often leaving out students who are, for instance, of Asian descent. There is a 45% of domestic students are Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, and only 51% of those students have English as a first language. And when students have complaints of, for instance, the anti-Asian violence that's been happening on campus and off campus, the Equity Office requires you to bring a translator with them. So I think we need to provide services that require inclusion and diversity for all student bodies, not just those who cater to English. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashni. Next up is Ritwik. I will repeat the question. Let me just see if you're muted. Awesome. Graduate students have a diverse set of concerns, whether it is tuition increases, transport, housing, among many others. What will be your main focus as Vice President of External Relations? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thanks, Penny. While some of the things that Ashni talked about are very important, I still think advocacy campaigns would need to pay special attention to the long-term effects of COVID on grad students. So my framework for the coming year would involve 3 short-term goals and 2 long-term goals. So the key focus would be on 3 short-term goals, which would be lobbying for COVID-19 related relief in the form of tuition awards to compensate for the time grad students suffered academically due to research curtailment or ungodly seminar timings, especially for international students, and overall mental stress resulting from sweeping changes brought about by the pandemic. Also, lobby to include more local and sustainable groceries on campus and subsidized prices of large for-profit companies, for example, Save on Foods. And based on, as I mentioned before, based on Utile's Flash 2021 National Housing Survey and the upcoming BC feasibility study that they're running, especially international students, place grad students, especially international students, indigenous students, etc., at the forefront so that they can benefit most from such alternative, affordable, and sustainable housing. And the 2 long-term goals are at the regional level, meet BC legislature to lobby for the expansion of the BC grad scholarship to include international students, or at the very least to include the social sciences and humanities streams in the BC grad scholarship program. And at the federal level, also lobby together with other agencies to amend the tuition fee limit policy to include regulation of international student tuition fees in order to ensure fairness, consistency, and expand the Canada Student Grants Program to allow grad students to qualify for the grants. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ramsey. I'll just repeat the question one more time and reset the timer. Graduate students have a diverse set of concerns, whether it is tuition increases, transport, housing, among many others. What will be your main focus as Vice President of External Relations? Your 1 minute starts now. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Bear with us, guys.
Thank you for muting me. Please, time.
Yeah.
So
Your 1 minute starts.
Oh,
Sorry, your 1 minute starts now.
okay, thank you very much. So as stated in my platform, my first concern is to bring more money into student pockets, right? Beyond all the things, positive things, and all the money that it creates into the Canadian economy, I think we need to set up priorities, right? My priorities go into creating needs-based grants for graduate students, especially those that have been affected the most by COVID. My other opportunity, my second most important aspect, is that we need to create equity-based grants. Equity-based grants are the most important tool we have to address intersectionalities between our graduate student community. For example, if you're a second generation Black member of our BIPOC community living in a rural area, you can't access a lot of grants, right? Because there's racial grants, there's need-based grants only for undergraduate students, but we don't have equity-based grants. So I will focus on equity-based grants. That's what we need right now to support our BIPOC community. I hear a lot about people talking about BIPOC community in their program and their platforms, but I don't see a lot of legs to support it. And of course, we need to lobby all our MLAs to create a fair university for international students, create fair MSA premiums, help international students who are going to eventually be part of our community and be part of Canada, paying a lot of money on income tax, help them pave their way to get their PR. I will also lobby for better health and for people to, oh, my time's up.
Yes,
right?
time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. So that's it for the 3 questions. We do have a question coming in from the live stream. And that's for all of you, but if you don't wish to answer, you don't have to. The question is, what are some of the concrete steps that you would take to highlight student issues in the midst of a possible federal election? Does anyone here want to answer that? Okay. Ramsey, I saw you put your hand up first. Okay, all 3 of you. I will go with Ramsey first. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Your 1 minute starts now.
Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to call on our MLAs. We need to go to David Envy and tell him, okay, we need you to really take into account these things, right? He got elected for Point Grey. His platform is super progressive, and it's very good, you know. And he needs to follow up on his commitments, right? When we reach out to the caucuses for our lobby week, we need to actually make really good decisions. We don't need to go there and ask for peanuts. There has been a great job done by the previous GSS executives. There's been a great job done. We need to make a true alliance with the AMS. I had the opportunity to talk before as a student of this university to our BPXs, and we really need to continue their alliances. We need to work together also with other associations. Any association. I heard somebody talking about UCREW. Well, that's a very important point that was added. I do not believe students should pay for UCREW if it's only an organization only for undergraduate students. So we must be very careful because UCREW only represents undergraduate students, and paying that fee as graduate students, we would have to pay for that fee, right? So we need to talk. We need to talk with SAD, we need to talk with Khalid, and we need to make sure that wherever they want to do actually brings that money back of that student fee back to our student community, right? My time's not up, okay.
You have 1 second, sorry.
Oh, well.
Time is up now.
We need to reach out to our MLAs.
Thank you, Ramsey. Ritvik, do you want to go next? Would you like me to repeat the question or did you read it in the chat?
I read it in the chat, so that's fine.
Okay. Just give me 1 second.
Question.
Your 1 minute starts now.
Thanks. Something that Ramsey said, that's absolutely true, that we need to go to the MLS, but how? How do we do it? So one of the things that I wanted to work on was basically we need more events like Be Bold at the Polls that GSS conducted. We need more events like that, but not just right before the election. We need those kind of events on a more regular basis. So I would like to implement, work with GSS to implement a quarterly informal meeting schedule where all grad students can participate in real-time conversations with politicians and policymakers from the legislature and other non-government agencies. This can be modeled on the 2019 Be Bold at the Polls campaign that ran and will be crucial towards increasing student visibility so that BC politicians get to understand concerns at a more direct level, not just at the time of lobbying. So these kind of conversations can be on a more regular basis, and student can be at the forefront of it. And GSS can be there to support, not just as something, as an agency who's just lobbying on behalf of them. I want to put students in the forefront. So that would be one way I would like to, my time's done, thanks.
You have 20 seconds if you still want to go. Okay. Ashni, did you want to answer the question as well? Okay, you have 1 minute starting now.
Okay, so I'm going to focus on a couple of different initiatives that I would like to put concrete steps towards. So first thing is first, that I would like to work in a participatory based research and survey methodology that works with particularly students of LGBTQIA2S+ and BIPOC communities for the sexual violence response and prevention policy on campus. Right now, we don't have enough statistics on their experiences. And so what I do believe is necessary is that we need to consult with them and have a properly laid out plan of how do we address their needs and concerns. And also, there's no minimum standard of care for consent culture. So, and even though the BC government has allocated some money in, for $760,000 in 2019 for projects on campus, there's no set standards. So what we need to do then is I need to, along with the AMS as well as other student organizations, to put forward, oh, sorry, am I done? Okay.
You have 20 minutes, 20 seconds.
Okay, sorry. So what I believe that we need to do first is, after those surveys, we need to put forward policy recommendations that are reasonable, practical, and sustainable solutions. And then we need to hold town halls with politicians and policymakers so that we can have a collaborative reciprocity effort put forward. I do believe that it's not just the responsibility of us as VP External, but also of the student body to address their needs and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. So just to clarify, I'll put this up at the 1 minute mark and then the 30-second mark. We do have another question coming in from Julia. She is saying, in understanding that provincial and federal advocacy efforts are a collective effort of many lobbying unions and student societies working together, tell us about your approach to collaboration. This will probably be the last question we are taking for VP External. So if you guys want to answer that, just let me know and I'll start the timer. You guys are able to see it in the chat, correct? Ashni, you want to answer? Okay. Are you unmuted? Okay. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you for that question. I think I already kind of touched on it. I do believe that we need to work in a participatory process. So my framework works in collaboration and reciprocity particularly. I do believe that those are important. So I'm committed to working with my peers and fellow students to meet their needs and concerns. So I believe that by working with them first to base on their concerns, and then move forward with things such as the town halls to have a collaboration with politicians and policymakers. And that would require me to reach out as along with the other committees that are in the GSS, so that we can have a force behind us that shows that we care and that we are people that need to be addressed in this situation and this climate here, especially during COVID-19. I do believe that our difficulties that we have been experiencing need to be addressed by the governments, both provincially and federally.
Thank you, Ashni. Ramsey, you want to go ahead? I will just reset the timer and your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you very much, Benny. So about this collaboration, there's a whole spectrum of both graduate and undergraduate student society and those societies that join them both. We are lucky to be part of ones, we're not part of others. But something's very clear. We all share basic goals, right? We all know this. Operational grants for universities in Canada have been declining dramatically over the past decades. In the past years, for the first time, a public university, and I might say public university, is relying more on tuition than on grants from the federal provincial governments. This is unsustainable. Education is a right, it's a human right. As we have people that are finishing their undergraduates are carrying a whole load of student debt. We need to work, we need to push the government to actually abide by its commitment to reduce the federal component of the of loans. We need to work for need-based grants for students. And we all want this. All of the federations want this. We just need to work on the small print, on the details. But if we can set up, as the GSS and the NAMS did the previous year, we went and took our priorities together, we're going to be heard. And so it's time to think big. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ritwik, you want to go ahead and answer as well? Okay, I'll unmute. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thanks. I'm not sure what Ramsey was answering. I think the question was slightly different, but anyway, I think the question was more about how we can collaborate. So I am with Ashni here in terms of, and I think we have already touched this question with the first answer that we gave. So working with peers, so the way we can collaborate during this time would be working with peers, past members of GSS and other student bodies, including AMS and regional and federal student bodies. And that is the way forward, because each man is not an island. So we cannot continue that way, thinking that we are just island bodies and we will work on our own. We have to collaborate with others, and these are the standard procedures that we can maintain. Especially COVID has made one thing easier. Collaboration has become much easier because of Zoom calls. So it might be more easier nowadays to collaborate than earlier times. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being patient. So that is it for the VP external role. We are going to move on to VP Vice President of Students, and that will be Sam. Sam, just let me know when you are ready, and I will begin with the first question. You're good to go? Awesome. I will just unmute. You are muted. Okay, so your first question is, one of the roles of the Vice President of Students involves creating events for the graduate community. What kind of social, recreational, and educational events can graduate students expect if you were elected? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you, Benny. I want to begin by saying our time at UBC should be a memorable one. It should be an opportunity to network with people from different countries, different faculties, and different programs. I don't believe it is only for academic reasons. That's why we come to UBC. Therefore, one of the programs that I hope to foster is interconnectivity between departments. I am a PhD student in School of Population and Public Health. I want to meet people from School of Pharmacy, School of Education. I want to know my friends from Forestry Department and other programs. Yesterday, I happened to participate or listen into the UBC Black Experiences in Graduate Education, which was a fantastic program. We need more of that. We need to bring people to share their experiences with us. We also need the more support we get. We have peer support, student assistance fund. All these are there, but not a lot of people know about them. How do we market this program so that every graduate student that wants pass UBC will access these funds or these services? Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Moving on to the second question. How do you plan to improve the relationship between the Graduate Student Society and affiliated organizations? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. We have some funds for our affiliated organizations, but that is not all. We need to let them know we support them. One thing that COVID has taught us is compassion. We need to be compassionate. We need to be supportive. And more importantly, we need to network with each other. So one of the main things I want to do, and thanks to my predecessor, Sarah did an amazing job. I hope to carry on from there, connect with these people, let them know we strongly share the vision and we are behind them, and we will fund it. Not only just talk, but fund it financially.
Thank you, Sam. We are moving on to the third question. The Vice President of Students coordinates orientation events for incoming graduate students.
Yeah.
Do you see room for improvement regarding orientation events? If so, could you give an example?
Yes, I do. I see a lot of.
1 second. Sorry, I would have to start the timer. Your 1 minute starts now.
Yes, I do. I see a lot of room for improvement. In this world, if you don't see room for improvement, then you are either retrogressing, because stagnation leads to retrogression. One thing we can do for sure is increase our visibility in the departments. I don't want to say it's sad, but it's not good to have a graduate student come to UBC, never attend any of our meeting, or even never heard of our GSS and graduate. So it starts from orientation. It starts from onboarding. It starts from the time they join. Let them know that there is a group that have their back, that supports them, that will be there with them. They are the group. We are not an isolation. Every graduate student, if possible, should join us, should work with us, and even should be part of us. We should encourage that, not just send emails, but organize programs that are fun, programs that are engaging, and programs that allow people to share their views. And if we believe in their views, we give them the opportunity to go ahead and organize those views, and we support them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We're just going to move on to the very last question and then see if anyone else has questions from the live stream. Your fourth question is, as you are the only candidate this year running for Vice President of Students, how will your platform stand out to represent all graduate students? You have 1 minute starting now.
First and foremost, this comes from within. I was asked yesterday, why am I standing for VP students? And I said, before I came for my PhD, I have a vision of enjoying my PhD. I know that it can be overwhelming. I know the academic pressure can be there, but I want to set a remarkable time for myself. And this is what I want every student of UBC to experience. So we will organize programs that cut across board. Of course, I'll be a listening VP. I hope to set up a mailing system that will collate ideas, and we shuffle it and know what people want. Because if we know what they want, then we can give them what they need. If we don't know and we organize programs that they are not interested in, they may not participate. So we collate ideas, know what they want, organize programs that is engaging, interacting, entertaining, educational, beneficial, and these people will see the importance of being part of our GSS. And at the end of the day, it helps them and gives them the opportunity to enjoy their academic life at the same time their social life. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So it looks like we do have one question for coming in from the live stream. You're welcome to answer it or not. The question is, I think your idea to interconnect departments is great. I wonder how can this interconnection help address the decline in the research mood in graduate students? Can you talk a bit about this? Just a second.
Thank you.
Just give me 1 second. Sorry, I have to reset the timer. Okay, your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. I don't know who this is from, but this is a beautiful and fantastic question. And that is exactly what I envisioned before coming to UBC. Even though I'm a PhD student in public health, I want to relate with others. This can be done through letting people know that graduate school is overwhelming, we get it, but mental health is real. One of the ways we can reduce the pressure is to meet with others, is to deliberately reach out. I'll be glad to have forestry department and medicine department interaction day. We can also have education department and mechanical engineering department interaction day, faculty of law department and agriculture department interaction day. That would be a beautiful thing. And by so doing, 1 week at a time, you meet someone from a different country, you meet someone from a different program, you meet somebody from a different faculty, and we are sharing and interacting with each other. I believe that is how it begins. Not necessarily all departments at one time, but 2 departments connect with each other and another time connect with another department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. I don't think there are any other questions, so I think we can move on to the last executive role, which is Vice President of University and Academic Affairs. If you guys don't mind putting on your cameras and just let me know when you're ready, and then we will begin the next set of questions. So the first question will be Christian, will be going first, and then Allison. Just give me a thumbs up when you are ready, and I'm just gonna make sure you're unmuted. Okay. So Christian, your first question is, which graduate student concerns will you prioritize when working with other university organizations, like the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies? You have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you, Benny. In my time in office, I plan to focus on 3 areas. And I think those 3 areas should be to continue to fight student poverty levels in our community, to explore ways to incorporate online learning, hybrid infrastructures, and face-to-face teaching all together as we begin to look at opening classrooms, and to develop a deeper sense of inclusion culture on our campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. So Allison, you are next. I'll just repeat the question again and make sure that you are unmuted. Okay, so the first question is, which graduate student concerns will you prioritize when working with other university organizations, like the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. So to start, I think I will start by advocating for what graduate students would like me to advocate for. So that includes using the results of surveys that the GSS conducts in order to inform my approach. But that being said, I will focus on 4 key region areas. The first being affordability, which is consistently one of the #1 concerns of graduate students. So as VP UAA, I'll advocate for increased tuition waivers and awards, as well as other financial support for graduate students. The next key area will be well-being, and that involves affordability, but also involves student supports like mental health resources and developing a plan to alleviate food insecurity and provide affordable housing. Next, I will focus on equity, diversity, and inclusion. As VP UAA, I'll support achieving the goals of the Indigenous Strategic Plan, as well as the Inclusion Action Plan. And I'll also support initiatives by other student leaders, including the Black Experiences in Graduate Education and similar initiatives. as well as supporting increased tuition support for BIPOC students. And lastly, I'll focus on supervisory relationships, as graduate students are unique in that they're very dependent on the relationship with their supervisor. And this provides unique challenges where students might not be comfortable advocating for change. And I would like to help alleviate that power imbalance and improve supervisory excellence at UBC. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. You ended right at the 1:30 mark. Okay, moving on to the second question. Christian, you are up again. Just gonna unmute. Oh. Awesome. So the next question is, what is your plan to ensure graduate student representation before council and before the university's administration? Your 1 minute starts now.
To echo some of the ideas that have already been presented, I think it's very important that we understand that the communities on campus are diverse and that we may not be doing an adequate job of representing all of those voices. And so I think it's going to be a priority of mine to, like my peer has said, to analyze what the goals, values, and concerns of those students are, and then to work together with existing groups and new groups and AMS to build ways that we can strategically bring those concerns to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. We will just be moving on to the last question. Allison, you are up. Just make sure you're muted. Awesome. What should graduate students look forward to regarding the collaboration between AMS and the GSS? You have 1 minute.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to answer the other question or no. I just.
Oh,
I don't know if that's supposed to be how it.
Sorry, did you not answer the second question?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I totally missed that. Back to the second question. My apologies. What is your plan to ensure graduate student representation before council and before the university's administration? Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. So I think it's important, as my colleague mentioned, to have representation of different communities on campus. So one approach to this will be outreach. I think because of COVID, the main way of outreach right now is by email and those sorts of communications online, which is difficult. But I think if we build partnerships with our affiliate organizations who kind of have closer connections to the different academic units, we can improve representation. It's also important that we allow groups to identify the priorities for us to advocate for and not take a top-down approach to advocacy. So I think one way we can improve is just getting better representation. And one way we are doing that is by increasing the number of department reps at the GSS. So I think initiatives like that might free up space for more students to be involved in student politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Sorry, I completely skipped over. So now onto the third question. Christian is going to go first. I'm going to unmute. Okay, so the third question is, what should graduate students look forward to regarding the collaboration between AMS and the GSS? You have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. I think what students ought to look forward to is an understanding of survey data and how we're going to use that to bring together the diverse communities on campus, and using that data to address the concerns that have been raised. And that data points to very real, measurable issues. Like I've already said, student poverty, social capital decline, with students being unable to connect on campus, peer support groups being needed, and ways that we can deepen our culture of inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Moving on to Allison. I'll just repeat that again. Make sure you're unmuted. what should the graduate students look forward to regarding the collaboration between the AMS and the GSS? You have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. I think because the AMS is a larger organization encompassing both graduate and undergraduate students, this means they have more access to resources. So I think it's important as VPUAA to collaborate with the AMS VPUAA as well as the other executives. I think that we need to identify common goals and work together so that we can combine our resources and we're not having duplicative efforts. And I think it's important for the GSS and AMS to work together when we're approaching the university because it shows that we have a united front and we're representing students. And I think moving forward, there's a lot of commonality. A lot of student politicians move back and forth between the AMS, GSS, and the Senate and Board of Governors. So I think it's important to have those relationships because when we combine our knowledge, our institutional knowledge, we can be more efficient and effective when we're approaching the university to advocate for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. So that is it for the VP of University and Academic Affairs. Let's just see if we have any questions coming in. So we do have a question, but it is for Sam. And that is, Sam, let us know if you do want to answer this. The majority of students don't engage with the GSS. How will you reach students that don't read the newsletter or follow our social media? Do you want to answer this? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to set the timer. Okay. Your 1 minute starts now.
Thank you. Unfortunately, this is not a good news. This is sad because GSS is for graduate students. We need everyone to participate. However, I understand some people don't want to or are not comfortable or do not always read the newsletter or the emails. In my earlier submission, I proposed two things. How about having interdepartmental interaction? How about we propose that today, the Faculty of Medicine graduate students are having a hangout with law department. And GSS will fund that. I know one of the problems people talk about is, oh, what about funding? Am I supposed to buy my own thing? A lot of people talk about that. One thing I believe in is provide drink, provide hamburger, and I will be there. So if I provide drink and hamburger, I'm sure someone else will be there. When this month, these two departments meet, next month, another department meet. By so doing, we are increasing our visibility on campus and then interaction among each other. So that is my number one thing I want to do. I want to see departments meet with other departments, provide drink, provide pizza or hamburger, and I'm sure people will be there. And we tell them and encourage them to be part of GSS. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Let's just see if there are any more questions coming in. So just so everyone knows, I don't think candidates are allowed to ask each other questions. So I just want to point that out. Ben, are there any more questions coming in right now?
No.
Oh, I have to unmute you.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. I think everyone can turn their cameras on, by the way, sorry. Or you don't have to if you don't want to, but okay, I think that's it. Maybe if you guys want to wait and see if anyone else has questions. Are there a lot of people on the live, Ben, or?
There have been people discussing, and so there may be a couple more questions come in, but I think most people ask them during the relevant sections.
Awesome. So maybe let's just wait like a minute or two and see if anyone else has questions, and then we can probably wrap everything up. I also think this will be posted, Ben, or just on the YouTube, I guess.
Correct. So we will both be posting the file, and we'll also be hopefully cutting it into easy to watch sections for the individual roles as well, if people just want to look at one particular set of candidates.
Awesome. So it seems like someone is asking if the candidates would like to talk about their experiences and past accomplishments in student advocacy. If you guys would like to share anything about that, let me know. This question is coming in from Jackson. Thank you, Jackson. I'll post the question on the chat. So it seems like someone is asking if the candidates would like to talk about their Yeah, Christian, do you want to answer that? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you, Benny.
Yeah, one sec. I'll just put the timer on for you. Yeah, it seems like other people want to answer as well. It's in the chat, by the way, if you guys want to refer back to it. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I have the great privilege of volunteering overseas in Zambia as a United States Peace Corps volunteer for education. And while I was there, I was nominated and elected the co-chair for the Volunteer Advisory Council. This position required that I be able to listen to the disparate concerns and interests of over 300 volunteers from various locations serving in various sectors, and being able to present those concerns in a succinct way to government officials that had control over the policy that dictated their experience in the country and how they could interact or how they could do their jobs within their communities. And so this position equipped me with the ability to represent both sides. That there's a side that you have to represent that is the student or the person you need to advocate for, and then there's also the organization that you're advocating for them to. And there's a relationship there regarding what it is that you can accomplish, and the fact that you have to be able to compromise and come in the middle. So it gave me the ability to talk to two sides and to be able to come up with solutions for those problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Does anyone, okay, I see the order. So yeah, this is for the same question. If you guys want to talk about past accomplishments in student advocacy, I'm not sure who was first. Okay, I'll just, Ramsey, I feel like you've had your hand up for a while. Do you want to answer that question? Sorry, you're still muted. Okay, sorry.
Point of order, I think it was Allison first.
Okay, Allison, I will unmute you. Sorry. Okay, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. So I've acted as a student advocate before, both during my pharmacy education and also during my grad school education. In pharmacy, I advocated for an arts-based elective that would facilitate discussions around ethical decision-making in pharmaceutical sciences. I've also been involved in restarting our student association at the level of the School of Population and Public Health. And along with other student leaders there, we're advocating for increased awards for graduate students. I also advocate for students at the faculty level as a graduate student wellbeing ambassador, and again, emphasizing the importance of increased financial support for graduate students. And as part of the team at the GSS, I regularly advocate for graduate students at the Code and Policy Committee, as well as the Academic and Executive Committee. And for instance, I was in support of increasing the number of department reps that's for larger academic units to have at the GSS. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. I think the chat says, okay, Ramsey, I think you're next. I'll just unmute you. Okay, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you very much, Benny. I think it's a great question. My student advocacy goes from high school. I've always been involved in this. I know Canada is very different than my country. I come from Mexico, but what I really learned here is that I was talking previously with somebody, the GSS, about this, is when I moved to Canada, realizing that 30% of the graduate students in our community suffer from food insecurity, and challenges very similar to the ones I faced in Mexico, right? Now, I was talking about thinking big because of this. Lobbying the government, lobbying our representatives as students is very important. It's very important because representatives build a candidacy talking about students. And when they don't listen to students, they don't want that. They actually need to listen. So we have to go and see specifically what they've done. I worked in the past with OPEC. I've lobbied in the past with international organizations, the International Renewable Energy Agency. I worked for 6 years as director at the International Affairs Office of the Ministry of Energy of Mexico at the federal level. I know how it is to sit by MLA, to get them to pass legislation, to actually abide by their commitments. They want to do it. They want to do it. We just need to find them. We need to talk to them. We need to be transparent. I wouldn't do anything without the approval of the GSS Council, and I'm ready to work for you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramsey. Ashni, yeah, you're next. I will unmute you. Awesome. You have 1 minute starting now.
Okay, thank you. So I would actually like to focus on something that I am very involved with outside of campus. So I work for Battered Women's Support Services as a crisis line and intake worker, and I worked with several students. And they come to me, they call us and they talk about their experiences, and they either have experienced emotional, physical, sexual abuse, or some kind of intergenerational trauma. So I work with individuals of all backgrounds, so LGBTQ, AI, to Spirit plus, and as well as BIPOC communities. And I believe that I've worked closely with individuals on a level that's very intimate, and I believe that they have have some kind of level of trust with me. So I believe that working with a trauma-informed approach, which centers on the principles of empowerment, trust, safety, choice, and collaboration is very important. So for myself, I do believe in those principles, and I worked with those individuals to do things such as find them safe housing, safe and affordable housing, to find them safe transport, to for lack of better words, an escape plan from their current abusers. So I've worked closely with this organization now for 2 years, and I will continue to work with that organization. And I believe that this role has helped me to understand sexualized violence that happens on campus, where 1 in 10 women on our campuses experience sexualized violence. And I do believe the data needs to expand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashni. Ritwik, you also have one, oh, sorry, I have to unmute you, gosh. You also have 1 minute starting now.
Thanks. I'm clubbing Jackson's question together with Saad's question there. So just wanted to answer Saad Dimitri's question, how do you plan on conveying your advocacy plans to students? So that's, even before vying for this role, back in July last year, I had started, for an example, a WhatsApp group for all students of UBC. That group has over 100 members already, and it's been running for almost about to be a year now. And that has proved to be a safe space for students to have conversations and ask information from new students and get help. So naturally, as part of GSS, the way advocacy plans would be conveyed would be through GSS and the processes that are already in place. And outside that as well, we can use social media. So that would be one way we will convey the advocacy plans and newsletters, etc. And to answer Jackson's question, I have been a student VP back in my university in India. Then I have been a cultural VP for my regional association in Calcutta, which looked after cultural events, no doubt, not students, but I have had quite a few experience in advocacy matters. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we do have 2 other questions. I don't know if you guys have read the chat. One of them is more geared towards VP University and Academic Affairs and VP External. Same with the second one. Does anyone wish to answer that one, or either or? I think, yeah, Christian, and then Ashni, and then Ramsey. Awesome. I will just unmute Christian. 1 second. I'm trying to unmute. Okay, there we go. Okay, Christian, your 1 minute starts now.
So the question is in regards to whether or not candidates would be willing to step away from their own goals in order to support in progress initiatives. And I think that has to be a given. We all come to the table with our own values and ideas for what needs to happen to make the community a better place, but we have to be able to understand that it's not our ideas that we're there to represent, but the ideas and the values and the concerns of the student body that we represent, and that we're coming into this process, a process that's already begun. And so we need to plug in and continue the work that was started in good faith and continue to ask questions about what people prioritize, what their values are. And you have to be able to step away from your individual values in order to support the values of those that elected you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. I think Allison, you were next. Let me just reset the timer here. Yeah, we do have another question coming in if you guys are able to see it in the chat. Allison, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you. So sorry, the question is how I prioritize long-term versus the advocacy goals that I promoted in my platform. So I think that it's important that we're always keeping an open mind and listening to students, as others have mentioned. As an elected advocate, we're here to advocate for students. So I won't be identifying priorities just based on my personal interest, as I don't believe that's what the role is about. But in addition to that, I believe that the 4 priorities I outlined earlier, including affordability, well-being, equity, diversity, inclusion, and supervisory relationships, are already long-term goals of the GSS and have been. So I don't think that there will be an issue there between my interests and the advocacy goals of the GSS. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. I'm so sorry. I have no idea who was next. Is there a way to see the order of people, Victoria? Ashni, okay. Let me just unmute you. Awesome. Ashni, you have 1 minute starting now.
Thank you so much for your questions. I think it's really important for me to speak to talking about platforms that I'm considerably maybe not passionate about. I think I worked for the graduate student class. I don't believe I work for myself. So I do believe on building and progressing the ideas and values of the current VP External. And so I need to address the needs and the concerns of all graduate students, not just what I set forth. And I'd like to specify that I'm not conveying my own plans. I'm conveying the plans of all graduate students, and my goals are the goals that you would like to put forward. So I want to work collaboratively and work to support all students. And this is, for example, I would like to specifically talk about persons with disabilities. We don't have very much data on persons with disabilities and their concerns, as well as their experiences on campus. So I would like to consult with them and determine what it is that they need. I know for myself that I would like to increase PWD PWD in general for them so that it can help with their tuition costs, as well as to provide them with equipment and services such as translator and e-readers. But like I said, I would like to consult with the students first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashni. Ramsey, you are next. I will just unmute you. Okay.
Just a small question before I proceed. We're answering Sa's question, and we're answering the question made by about the long-term advocacy.
Yes. So there's also another one,
Somebody answered,
but it doesn't. Oh, from Aaron. And it doesn't say the name for the law.
Benny, can you please repeat the question so I know what I'm answering?
As advocacy is a long-term effort, will you prioritize the in-progress advocacy efforts in the GSS over those that have been promoted in your platform, even if you are not as passionate about them as your own ideas? And then there's also a second one after that, and the one before. You are free to answer whichever comes in. Do not feel obliged, but are you able to see the chat?
I just want to answer all questions.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to start with this question.
Okay, just give me
around to answer the other questions. I'm happy to. If I have to answer them all right now, I'll try to do my best. I'll just go ahead and start with that.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Okay. Should I give you 1 second?
No, I'm just resetting the timer. Your 1 minute starts, 1 minute and 30 seconds starts now.
So I think Saad's question is very linked to this question about the long term, right? So I want to start off by saying that my platform is built on over 1 year of engagement with graduate students. To see their priorities, you're welcome to check out my platform, right? And the other thing is obvious. Our priorities must be those of the graduate students. How are we going to do that? Well, it's very important. We need to be transparent, and we need to make consultations with the graduate students. Everything, we're going to get to a point when we're going to go to the federal level, and we're going to have to compromise on some things to be able to put them onto the federal level. So we need to set our priorities straight. We need to set up with graduate students, what do we want to push the most for the federal level? What do we want to push the most with Vancouver City Council? What do we want to go talk with Evie and the other MLAs that we elected around the city, right? So we need to set our priorities. And for that, there's only one way. We need to consult graduate students. We need to consult GSS Council. There's no other way. And we need to be totally transparent about this. I would have everything posted. I would like to have everything posted on the GSS website, everything. Freedom of information is extremely important, especially if we're handling public resources that come from graduate students, that most of them face financial hardship every day. 37%, 80% of them are worried about the future they're going to have because of their money, right? Well, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Ramsey. I'm just gonna check the actual live to see if there's any more questions coming in. Okay, so there is one last question. For the great initiatives that each of you have proposed, do you feel that the pay remuneration you'll receive as executives is adequate or less adequate or should be more? If you scroll up here, I'll copy and paste it again. I realize it's kind of all the way up. Yeah, I've just pasted it again. Awesome. So Ritwik, seems like you are up first. I'm gonna unmute you. Awesome. You have 1 minute, 30 seconds starting now.
Thanks, Benny. I'll just quickly answer Aaron's question first. I'm completely on board exactly with what Christian said. At the end of the day, this society is not called Ritwik Student Society. It's called Graduate Student Society. It's not a pet project of mine to join the society and mold it according to what I think would be best. I'm just a fellow traveler. It has existed before me. It will continue to exist after me. So there is absolutely no question about not being passionate about the other ideas that GSS is moving ahead with. So that's absolutely out of the question. So you're always on board with GSS. And in terms of the remuneration question, I think the remuneration is fair, but and especially more so because GSS supports candidates and executives, etc., in many other different ways. So I don't think this is particularly hard on the who the executives are to be able to do the work and not get remunerated in standard. I do not think that this is less or inadequate at all, but it's definitely early. I've not been a committee member, so I cannot comment like that, but it doesn't feel to be inadequate at least. Thanks.
Thank you. Ashni, do you want to go next, and then Ramsey, and then Allison? Just let me unmute. Awesome. 1 minute, 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you for that question. I would like to first start off by saying that I do believe that the pay is fair. And the reason why I believe this is because we get paid in other ways. We get paid in experiences and also by learning. I think that it's important that we're learning from not only the other graduate students, but within the organization itself as well. I think those actually contribute more than the pay does. And that might sound cheesy and might sound silly, but it's true. I do think that's really important because it carries on past graduate school and into your lives. The experiences we make now will create different changes and propel us forward with whatever we choose to do, whichever career path we go down, whatever advocacy we push forward as social justice students, as scientists, whatever we may do. So I do believe that it's important that we continue to believe that our role here is important and that our pay is fair. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Ramsey, I will unmute you. One second. Sorry.
Am I unmuted? I am.
Yes, I will just put the timer on. Your 1 minute and 30 seconds starts now.
I think this is a great question. It's fantastic. So is it fair? Well, I think it's probably too much money, right? As public servants, you need to set examples, right? We're handling public money here, money from other students. I think it's too much. It recently increased from, I believe, 10,000 to it increased to $1,128 or something like that. I think it was not necessary. But I will tell you something. It's important these roles are paid because of one thing. We want people to come and represent us. We want everybody to come. We don't want just people that can afford not to work to come and represent us, right? So that's a big thing. That's why senators are paid. That's why House representatives are paid. They're paid why? Because then you can guarantee everybody can stop doing what they're doing to actually focus and do this work. So you don't have only, I might say, your typical rich kids that are running executive associations. So it's very important that people get paid. I think it's a little bit too much, but it's fine. And that would be all for my intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramsey. On to Allison now. Awesome. Your 1 minute, 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you. So I think, unfortunately, as graduate students, we're not in this work for the money. And I think that when I was thinking about taking on this role, I didn't first think about the pay. And I don't think that people should take on this role thinking about their remuneration. However, I realized that pay is important to support students so that it's not just the students who can afford not to work taking on these kinds of roles. But I would like to also mention that up until this point, student advocacy on my end has been 100% volunteer. And I think that's important. I think that demonstrates that it's my passion, and I've been advocating unpaid. And I think in all, the pay is fair to give an answer, but I do think that this role isn't necessarily about the pay. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. Would anyone else like to answer this? Kamani, Sam? Christian, you want to go? Okay, you can start now.
Thank you, Benny. I think it's already been said. The people that should be running for these positions, the people that are passionate about advocacy and building community at UBC, should not be motivated by the amount of money they're making in this position. I think it is also fair to say that it's important that these positions be paid so that students may not need to split their time between work and service to their student community. But in terms of the question, I think any number below what it is could be fair. It could be free, it could be volunteer, and it would still be important work that needs to be done.
Awesome, thank you, Christian. Kamani or Sam, do you wish to, okay, Kamani, I will unmute you. Okay, your 1 minute, 30 seconds starts now.
Thank you so much, Benny, and thank you so much, fellow panelists and candidates. I want to echo what most of you have said about the payment. And this, I don't think I will be talking from experience. I've been with the GSS for the last few years. I started by volunteering, and now in this position where there are some honorary effort or support that comes in. I would say that it's not more about the money that comes in, because you realize that no matter how much might come our way, we have other ways of getting money. But as Christian said, it should be within a given spectrum to be able to focus on what is important, because I don't want to be focusing on going to the meetings and I'm thinking about going and washing dishes somewhere for extra money. So it is important that if we want good job done, it is important that we remunerate that to fit into that gap. For example, we go to the university and lobby and advocate and come back with, say, maybe like how we did with the COVID-19. We were able to come back home with 2.4 million for graduate students. But how much did that go to our pockets? Nothing. It benefited other people out there, and that is exactly what we do. We have the Graduate Life Center that about 1.2 million that we brought. Did any of that go to our pockets? No. Did we stop working? No. It's going forward. So I would say that it is the inspiration of the achievement that makes us go forward. But again, they should be supported to make ends meet.
Thank you. Thanks, Kamani. Sam, do you wish to answer that too? Yes. Okay. I'll just unmute you. Just give me.
I'm talking.
Yes. Okay. Your 1 minute, 30 seconds starts now.
All right. I agree perfectly with what my colleagues said and other candidates said. First and foremost, it's not about the money. Number two, you want to remunerate people so that they are focused. They know that there is a requirement from them. I want to be practical. What if you call me for a meeting and I said I'm going for a part-time job somewhere because I need to make something quick? Would you accuse me of neglecting my job, my duties? So let's get it clear. It's not driven by funds. It's not driven. What we are paid, I'm a physician. I believe if I get a part-time job, I can get more than that. But that is not what drives me. What drives me is I want to see change. I want to contribute my quota to UBC so that when I leave 10 years later, they can say Dr. Kenstin participated in GSS and produced a result that is still moving on even after he has graduated. That is what drives me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, I think we can begin to wrap up here. I'm just going to see if there's any last questions. I don't think we do, but we do have a comment, and it just says, "For what it's worth, the pay is not fair, and I, as an individual, support executives to be paid for the hours worked when so much of GSS values align with this advocacy for other students." So that was a final comment. If anyone doesn't have anything else to say, thank you all so much for coming and being patient with all the technical stuff. You are officially the first people in the GSS to have a debate over Zoom during a pandemic. So pat on the back for all of you. If there aren't any other questions from you guys, I think we can go. Please remind people to vote next week. Yes, please. We will try our best to get the word out there. Voting does begin on Monday until the 7th of March. Do you guys have any questions before we head out? Awesome. Ben, Victoria, Mustafa, do you guys have anything to say? Okay.
I just wanted to thank everybody, of course, all the candidates for attending and giving of their time so freely, but particularly I just wanted to thank Benny for her role as moderator. It's always very challenging, and particularly doing something virtually. We've never done anything like this before, so I just wanted to publicly thank Benny for taking on the job of doing that for us.
No worries. I realized halfway through I was saying you have 1 minute starting now, because I don't listen to myself, and I'm like, oh, great. Now they think they have 1 minute. So apologies. I hope everyone has a great weekend otherwise. Bye, everyone.